of Britain. She's got a plane to catch.
Heathrow is to be in the bosom of historic Britain. Within spitting distance all around me, there is a wealth of architectural delights to be found and discoveries to be made, because far from annihilating all that lies around it, Heathrow Airport has in fact protected within its vast and sprawling embrace a wealth of the strangest survivals. The area still exudes, as observed by Mr. J. Penver Broadhurst in the 1930s, the pure, sweet air of antiquity.
From all over Heathrow you can spot the spire of St. Mary's in Stanwell, spiking up into the sky. It is a little village church of stone and flint, which harbours a shimmering surprise. The alabaster tomb of Lord Knivet, the man who foiled the gunpowder plot.
It was Lord Knivet, and this is said to be a startling likeness, who, as Justice of the Peace, was sent to search the cellars of the Houses of Parliament, where he found a certain Guido Fawkes, Guy Fawkes, hidden away with 36 barrels of gunpowder beneath a great pile of billets and faggots of wood. Laying his hand on Fawkes's shoulder, Lord Knivet arrested him. Fawkes confessed, and confessed too that if he had been ready, he would have blown up the whole lot of them there and then.
At the end of Stanwell Village, but 10 steps from runway 5, great creakingly romantic gates still hang on their fanciful stone piers, leading you into a most richly peopled past. They guard the wildly overgrown grounds of Stanwell Place, now gone, where a great house had stood since the 1000s. Henry VIII once lived here, as did Faisal, the last king of Iraq. The very air is heavy with history.
It is here that the final plans for the Normandy landings were made during the Second World War, because Stanwell Place was then owned by Sir John Gibson, the engineer who designed the Mulberry harbours, those great floating ports that were hauled across to France to enable the Allied troops to land. And those Mulberry harbours were first tested on these very ponds. Imagine a scene then with Montgomery and Churchill and Eisenhower all gather together on these banks with the Allied command as the course of the Second World War was decided.
The whole area was once a vast patchwork of orchards, and one of its many apple growers, Richard Cox, lived here at Poyle in a house called the Lawns.
His house stood over there, and that is the old summer house that once stood in his garden. It is therefore here that in 1825 Richard Cox planted the seeds of the ribstone pippin pollinated with the Blenheim orange that was to produce the first Cox's orange pippin in the world.
Were it not for the constant roar of the jets, it would be impossible to believe that these entrancing villages were hard by Heathrow. There are many of them, all retaining an unspoilt charm, rare indeed for this part of the world. Ironically immune from development by the very nearness of the airport, they have remained a corner of old Middlesex that is no more. Cranford, once the seat of the Berkeley family, is one such gem, and the old stables still stand from where the Berkeley hunt would follow the fox as far as Charing Cross.
There's a perfectly delightful account of the Berkeleys coming here to church in the early 1800s, when the barrel organ was in use, which could only play 3 tunes. This alarming instrument, it was said, was operated by the village schoolmistress turning a handle, her signal to begin being a lusty blast upon a whistle by the Reverend Hicks. Thus, when the music was needed, the parson piped, the handle was turned, and without any regard for either metre or line, the 3 same tunes churned on.
It was said that the Berkeleys had a vein of exceeding singularity.
Certainly Mary Countess of Berkeley, who lived here in the late 1700s, was a very colourful character. Always living in terror of the law, she devised escape shafts from her bedroom into the cellars, through which she could escape in case of danger. And would you believe such a thing? These cellars are still here. Thrilling, thrilling, thrilling 18th century cellars. She was a butcher's daughter from Gloucester who had 6 sons by the Earl, the first 4 of them illegitimate. For years she tried in court to prove their legitimacy, but nevertheless lived in constant terror of arrest for perjury, building these escape shafts and tunnels galore to ensure a quick and prompt getaway. And very, very beautiful tunnels they are as well. But strangest of all survivals, in that it is still slap bang in the middle of the airport, is this cannon, still standing proud today, that marks the spot of the original Ordnance Survey. Because it was here, on August the 17th, 1784, that the first systematic attempt was made to both measure and map the British Isles. And a very, very surprising spectacle it did make as well.
It is exciting to know that all the maps of the British Isles are calculated from an original baseline that was established here by this laborious method, with the men of the Ordnance Survey laying great glass rods encased in wooden boxes end to end, one by one, all the way to distant Banstead Church in Surrey. Heathrow had the perfect flat and level terrain for the job, making it possible for General Roy, the man in charge, to measure accurately the huge distance that was needed. It also made it possible, of course, to build an airport here.
It became a great spectacle of the day, with George III, no less, coming to marvel, and with tents being pitched where the numerous guests could enjoy every necessary, even elegant refreshment. All this to watch the 12th Regiment of Foot making their painstakingly precise way across Hounslow Heath for the benefit of our nation. Think of it, the foundations of all our maps were laid here 210 years ago.